Welcome to Live from the Show Floor. I'm Shelly Kramer, Principal Analyst and Founding Partner at Futurum Research, and I'm here at Tanium Converge in Austin, Texas, Tanium's annual event. So happy to be here. Today I am joined by Ron Tinkler, who is an Assistant Director of IT at Informatics Merseyside with NHS. What is that exactly? Rob's going to tell us.
Okay, so the National Health Service obviously provide healthcare across the country, across England, and we provide IT services to the NHS in the northwest of England in Merseyside and in Cheshire and Merseyside. We're an IT shared service provider, and we provide IT across around about 20-25 different NHS organisations in that region.
So, healthcare and security.
Yeah, they don't really go.
You sleep well at night, don't you?
Yeah, it's when we're holding patient information, it's got to be absolutely secure.
Well, and healthcare is like one of the top targets for threat actors, so it is a very stressful field of work.
Yeah, it can be.
For sure. Can be, yes. So I would love it if you would talk with us a little bit about so I've already said, healthcare is a prime target for cybersecurity threat actors. So much to manage there. One of the biggest things is patching.
Yeah.
So talk with me a little bit about the challenges there and kind of what you see on a daily basis.
Yeah, so we've got because of the fact that we're providing that IT service to multiple NHS organisations, they have many different systems, many different applications, not just Microsoft-based, but third-party applications, clinical systems, and so on. And it can be quite difficult to patch those systems, utilising the kind of standard stuff like Microsoft SCCM, doesn't patch third-party applications, and so on. So we really had to find something that would enable us to be able to patch those systems and applications. And we came across Tanium, and we put a proof of concept into place. And we started to see we could really start to patch all these different systems. And one of the key things we've been able to do is actually reduce our patching time frame from 6-week window, which seems quite a long time.
It does seem like a long time.
But we have to test because these are clinical systems that could impact on patients. But we've now got that reduced down to 2 weeks, and that's complete patching on every device across the 20,000 endpoint estate.
Okay, I think that's huge.
Yeah, so it makes a massive difference to be able to patch those systems within that sort of time frame. And I certainly sleep a lot better at night.
Very key.
We've got those today. Yeah.
Very key. So we talked about this a little bit before we started this conversation on camera. You are a relatively new customer of Tanium. So talk with me a little bit about sort of what led you to Tanium and the challenges that you've had. Did you say you're 7 months in?
Yeah, so we procured the platform, I think it was the end of the financial year, just gone flat. And so it's taken a little while to get it embedded, certainly for the engineers to be able to utilise. They're so used to using systems like SCCM, and we had probably 3 or 4 different disparate asset management tools as well.
Not unusual.
No, and they're very used to using those products and those services, and when you introduce a new product, even though they can see the benefits of it, actually implementing that change is difficult.
Right. Humans and change.
Yeah, they don't go together.
They don't go together.
But it's hard, but we're overcoming that, and actually they're starting to see the benefits of that change at the moment. And when they can see that we're patching from 6 weeks to 2 weeks, they go, actually, there's something here. And actually, we'll ultimately be moving away from SCCM completely in terms of being able to patch even Microsoft-based products. Our desktop and endpoint manager is absolutely over the moon with the products because he's been able to take some of the older versions of Windows 10, so 1903, 1909, and deploy out to 21H2 really easily, really simply. He's found it a lot easier to be able to deploy over SCCM, so we're just getting so much out of the products already, and yet we've only had the products since April.
And I think that's really one of the keys, in any kind of digital transformation effort, right? That's what this is. But it's, when you can have those success cases, that's your proof of concept, you know what I'm saying? And then pretty soon word starts to filter out, and then all of a sudden what happens is that, people are like, hey, I want some of this.
Well, yeah, and we're seeing that now. It's really interesting. We're the first NHS organisation to take Tanium in the Northwest, and other NHS IT service providers in the Northwest, because we're not alone, we're all starting to look at Tanium. There's a couple of NHS trusts as well who have their own IT department. They're all starting to look at the product as well, because they can see the sort of benefits that are coming back from it.
I'm sure the folks at Tanium will be very happy to hear that. Absolutely. So, what surprised you about, beyond the successes that you mentioned? Was there anything about kind of getting immersed in the Tanium product and, working alongside the Tanium team as needed and things like that? What surprised you along the way? Anything?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, we had several asset management tools, but they never told the same story. So we're using Tanium, and actually we're getting this consistent picture about our assets out there, both managed assets and unmanaged assets.
Right.
And I think with the pandemic as well, even though we bought the product towards the end in the UK, we've still got so many people working in different ways, and from at home, it's actually difficult to get back into the office, but that's a different conversation. But we're able to actually see those assets now, whereas other asset management tools, we couldn't see those. We're seeing things like clinical devices that are completely unmanaged, and we're actually able to pick those up using Tanium, so we can either actively manage them, or if we've got some challenges around being able to manage them and patch them, we can do some hardening around those devices. Well, you can't manage what you can't see, and I think that's the big difference. We're able to actually see that now.
Yeah, I think that's been the theme of the many conversations I've had throughout the course of the last couple of days here, is the visibility is just such a game changer.
It is.
And you can't, we did some research a couple of years ago for a big technology customer, and what we surveyed organizations, and one of the questions that we asked them was about visibility, and do you use a dashboard for visibility? And another question that we asked them had to do with the occurrence of intrusions, attacks, everything. And it was very interesting, because the people who use dashboards, of course, knew that attacks are happening all the time. Yeah. We're seeing them happening, and we're mitigating and minimizing them. And the people who didn't have visibility said, yeah, we don't really think we're good.
No, but we don't know.
But we don't know, because we can't see. So visibility is very much key. Yeah. So my last question is, if you were speaking with someone who was thinking about getting arms around the complexity of patching, or the whole endpoint situation, what would be your best advice to them? What would you leave them with?
I think if you've got multiple different systems that are all doing something important, but they aren't necessarily communicating with one another, it's probably a good time to start to look at products out there that will actually consolidate into one. I think having a single pane of glass to be able to see them, and certainly what we're finding with Tanium is managing those endpoints in a single pane of glass is making such a difference. So I would say any organisation out there, if you've got disparate products and services that are providing the sorts of things that Tanium can do, perhaps start to have a look at consolidating those into a single platform.
Great advice. Rob Tinkler, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. To our viewing audience, thank you as well, and we'll see you next time.